Alexander Yuryevich Sasha Pichushkin, also known as the Chessboard Killer and the Bitsa Park Maniac, is a Russian serial killer. He is believed to have killed at least 49 people, and possibly as many as 60, in southwest Moscow's Bitsa Park, where a number of the victims' bodies were found. Early life, Pichushkin is remembered to have been an initially sociable child. However, this changed following an incident in which Pichushkin fell backwards off a swing and was then struck in the forehead as it swung back. Experts have speculated that this event damaged the frontal cortex of Pichushkin's brain. Such damage is known to produce poor impulse regulation and a tendency towards aggression. That this event happened when Pichushkin was still a child is also significant, as a child's forehead provides only 1/8 the protection for the brain of an adult's. Indeed, following this accident Pichushkin frequently became hostile and impulsive, and his mother decided to transfer him from a mainstream school to one for children with learning disabilities. Following this transfer, children from the mainstream school began to physically and verbally bully Pichushkin, referring to him as that retard. This abuse served to intensify Pichushkin's rage and hostility. Upon his reaching early adolescence, Pichushkin's maternal grandfather recognized that Pichushkin was highly intelligent, and felt that his innate talents were being wasted, as he wasn't involved in any activities at home, and the school he was enrolled in focused more on overcoming disability than on promoting achievement. The grandfather took Pichushkin to live in his home and encouraged him to pursue intellectual pursuits outside of school. The deepest of these interests was chess, with Pichushkin being taught how to play and, after demonstrating his ability, being introduced to the exhibition games played publicly in Bitsa Park. It turned out that Pichushkin was an outstanding chess player, and in these games against generally elderly men, Pichushkin first found a channel for his aggression by dominating the chessboard in all of his games. Unfortunately, Pichushkin was still bullied by mainstream schoolchildren throughout his adolescence and, as perhaps the cruelest emotional blow, toward the end of this period Pichushkin's grandfather died. Pichushkin was left to return to his mother's home, at which time he enrolled as a student. The death of his grandfather reportedly greatly affected Pichushkin, and, possibly in an effort to dull the pain of the loss and to calm his severe aggressive tendencies, he began to consume large quantities of vodka. He continued to play chess both at home and in the exhibition games in Bitsa Park, now joined the other men in drinking vodka, though unlike them he could play without being greatly affected by the alcohol. It was at this time that Pichushkin began to develop a more sinister hobby that at the time remained unknown to anyone. Whenever he knew he was going to come into contact with children, he would take a video camera along and proceed to threaten them. On one disturbing, and alarmingly prophetic, occasion that has since been made public, he held a young child by one leg, upside down, and said to the camera, "You are in my power now. I am going to drop you from the window. And you will fall 15 meters to your death." He then watched these videos repeatedly to reaffirm his power. However, by 1992, this practice had become insufficient to satisfy his urges. Murders. Pichushkin committed his first known murder as a student in 1992 and stepped up his crimes in 2001. Russian media have speculated that Pichushkin was motivated, in part, by a macabre competition with another notorious Russian serial killer, Andrei Kikatilo, the Rostov Ripper, who was convicted in 1992 of killing 53 children and young women over a 12-year period. Pichushkin has said his aim was to kill 64 people, the number of squares on a chessboard. He later recanted this statement, saying that he would have continued killing indefinitely if he had not been stopped. Pichushkin targeted primarily elderly homeless men by luring them with the offer of free vodka. After drinking with them, he would kill them with repeated blows to the head with a hammer. In what became his trademark, or signature, he would then push a vodka bottle into the gaping wound in their skulls. He also targeted younger men, children and women. He would always attack from behind in order to take the victim by surprise and to avoid spilling blood on his clothes. He claimed that while killing people he felt like God as he decided whether his victims should live or die. "In all cases I killed for only one reason. I killed in order to live, because when you kill, you want to live," he once said. "For me, life without murder is like life without food for you." I felt like the father of all these people, since it was me who opened the door for them to another world. Experts at the Serbsky Institute, Russia's main psychiatric clinic, have found Pichushkin sane, but suffering from antisocial personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder, making him a psychopath. According to the documentary, Serial Killers, Pichushkin, once apprehended, led police officers to the scenes of many of his crimes in Bitsa Park, and demonstrated a keen recollection of how the murders were committed. He was filmed reenacting them in great detail, a process which is a regular part of Russian criminal investigation. He also revealed that some of the murders he committed were not done in his preferred method, but by throwing his victims down into the network of sewers running underneath Bitsa Park. The murder of Marina Moskalyova, 36, in the spring of 2006, was his last. When her body was found in Bitsa Park, complete with Pichushkin's trademark injuries, a metro ticket found in her possession led authorities to review surveillance tape footage from the Moscow metro system, where she was filmed, just hours before her death, walking on the platform accompanied by Pichushkin. Trial and imprisonment. He was arrested on June 16, 2006, and convicted on October 24, 2007 of 49 murders and 3 attempted murders. He asked a Russian court to add an additional 11 victims to his body count, bringing his claimed death toll to 60, and 3 surviving victims. During his trial, as with Andrei Kikatilo, Pichushkin was housed in a glass cage for his own protection. It took Judge Vladimir Yusov an hour to read the verdict, life in prison with the first 15 years to be spent in solitary confinement. References. External links. Interview with Pichushkin, Russian serial killer convicted October 24, 2007, CrimeLibrary.com, Criminal Brief, http, News Yahoo COMNMTSNM Russia Serial Killer DC